Have you ever watched a baby lying on their back, completely still, eyes locked on a corner of the ceiling that looks absolutely empty to you? No sound, no movement, no one calling for them. Just this tiny, brand new person staring upward with the kind of focus most adults cannot manage for more than 30 seconds. And your first instinct, almost every time, is to wave your hand in front of their face, or say their name, or look up yourself, half expecting to see something you missed. But there is nothing there, just the ceiling. And yet they keep staring, completely absorbed, like they are watching the most important thing in the world. Here is what nobody tells new parents in those moments. Nothing is wrong, nothing is missing. In fact, something genuinely extraordinary is happening right in front of you. Your baby is not zoning out. They are not confused. They are not staring at nothing. They are actively, intensely, methodically processing the world in ways that most adults have completely forgotten how to do. And the science behind what is actually happening inside that small, rapidly developing mind is far more fascinating than most people ever slow down long enough to realize. To understand what a baby sees when they stare at the ceiling, you first have to understand what a newborn's vision actually looks like. When a baby is born, their eyes are physically functional. The structures are there, the light gets in, but the brain has not yet learned how to interpret what the eyes are sending. A newborn sees the world at roughly 20 to 40 times less clarity than an adult. Everything is blurry. Colors are muted. Edges bleed into each other. The world looks something like a watercolor painting left out in the rain. Soft, imprecise, almost dreamlike. But here is the part that changes everything. Even within that blur, certain things cut through with remarkable clarity. High contrast edges, sharp lines where light meets shadow, the boundary where a white ceiling meets a darker wall, the hard outline of a light fixture against a pale background, the angular frame of a window on a bright afternoon. These are not random things for a baby to notice. They are exactly the kind of visual information a developing brain is biologically designed to seek out first. Because contrast is not just visually interesting to a newborn. It is how the brain begins to learn the shape of the world it has just arrived in. There is also a very specific reason babies are drawn to ceilings in particular, and it has everything to do with the overwhelming nature of being alive for the first time. Think carefully about what the rest of a baby's environment looks like from where they are lying. Faces appearing and disappearing, hands reaching in, voices rising and falling, colors shifting, textures pressing against their skin without warning. The world at face level is a relentless, ever-changing stream of sensory input that a brand new nervous system is simply not built to handle all at once. The ceiling, by comparison, is a completely different experience. It is mostly still, it is predictable, it tends to be higher contrast than the walls, and critically, it does not make sudden sounds or unexpected movements. It does not reach out and touch them. When a baby fixes their gaze upward, they are not tuning the world out in a passive way. They are actively turning the volume down on everything else so they can focus on just one thing at a time. It is a form of self-regulation that appears before language, before intentional movement, before almost every other cognitive skill we associate with intelligence. A baby staring at the ceiling is, in the most literal sense, managing their own nervous system. But the ceiling is not always just a refuge from sensory overload. Sometimes what a baby is responding to is something you genuinely cannot perceive in the same way anymore. Infant vision at this stage is exquisitely sensitive to certain kinds of light and motion, the barely perceptible flicker of a ceiling fan slowing down, the way late afternoon light shifts slowly across plaster as clouds move outside the window, the faint, almost invisible reflection of a curtain moving on a painted surface. These are not hallucinations or mysteries. They are real visual events happening in real time. The difference is that your adult brain learned long ago to filter them out because they are not relevant to anything you need to do. A baby's brain has not built those filters yet. Every shadow, every shift in light intensity, every subtle change in the texture of a bright surface is a completely fresh and genuinely compelling piece of information. So when your baby stares at what looks like an empty corner of the room to you, there is a very real chance they are responding to something that is actually there, something your experienced, efficient, highly trained brain quietly decided was not worth your attention a very long time ago. There is something happening neurologically during these moments that makes the behavior even more profound than it appears. In the first months of life, the human brain is forming connections at a pace it will never match again at any other point in a person's existence. During the first year alone, the brain builds roughly 1 million new neural connections every single second. Every time a baby focuses their gaze on a visual stimulus, traces its edge with their eyes, follows a slow movement across the ceiling, or holds their attention on a point of contrast, they are literally constructing the architecture of their own mind. Vision is not simply about seeing. It is one of the primary pathways through which the brain learns to understand space, depth, distance, and eventually motion, prediction, and cause and effect. That still, quiet stare at the ceiling is your baby doing some of the most intensive cognitive construction work of their entire life. The fact that they look calm, even blank, is almost misleading. Underneath that expression, behind those wide and wandering eyes, the brain is anything but quiet. Around 6 to 8 weeks, something begins to shift. Babies start to show what researchers call social smiling, and their ceiling-gazing patterns change in a specific and measurable way. They become more responsive to human faces. They track movement with noticeably more precision. The gazes become less random and more deliberate. But even at this stage, you will still catch them drifting back upward, especially when they are tired or in that soft, hazy state right after waking. And this is where another layer of the psychology becomes important to understand. Newborns and very young infants do not experience the boundary between sleep and wakefulness the way adults do. In that half-awake state, a state researchers sometimes call hypnagogic awareness, the brain is processing incoming sensory information while still partly engaged in the consolidation work of sleep. During these moments, what a baby sees and responds to may be a blend of real sensory input and internally generated imagery. Not quite dreams, but not pure waking perception either. It is one of the reasons babies sometimes smile or startle at nothing visible while their eyes are barely open. Their inner world and their outer world are not yet cleanly separated, and for a few soft, fleeting months, the line between them is beautifully, impossibly thin. Parents often wonder whether they should be concerned when a baby stares for a long time without blinking or reacting to sound. And this is a genuinely important question, because there is a meaningful difference between the focused, engaged ceiling stare and a completely unresponsive stare that can sometimes signal something neurological. The distinction usually comes down to a few observable things. An engaged, staring baby will eventually shift their gaze on their own, will respond to a loud or sudden sound, even if they do not look away immediately, and will return to normal alertness and movement afterward. A baby who remains entirely unresponsive to sound, touch, and changes in light for an extended period, or whose eyes move in repetitive and rhythmic patterns they cannot seem to stop, is showing something worth discussing with a doctor. Most ceiling staring is completely and wonderfully normal, but knowing what normal looks like is what gives you the clarity to notice when something is not. And that knowledge is never wasted. Yet what is perhaps the most quietly moving thing about all of this is what it reveals about the nature of attention itself. Adults move through the world in a state of constant, unconscious filtering. The brain spends decades deciding what is worth noticing and what can be safely ignored. That is efficiency. That is how you function in a complex, fast-moving world without collapsing under the weight of every sensory detail. But that efficiency comes at a real cost. You have stopped seeing 1,000 things that are genuinely there. the way light travels slowly across a ceiling in the late afternoon, the faint geometry of shadows gathering in a corner of a room, the subtle texture of a surface you have walked past 100 times without ever truly looking at. A baby has none of those filters yet. Everything is new. Everything is worthy of attention. The world is not background noise to them. It is the whole show, unedited and unfiltered, and they are watching every frame. That stare, that wide-eyed, completely unguarded, utterly present stare, is what total attention looks like before the world teaches us to look away. So the next time you see a baby do this, try not to interrupt it. Try not to redirect them or fill the silence. Just sit with them for a moment and let them stare, because what looks like stillness from the outside is one of the most active and extraordinary things a human brain ever does. The ceiling has not changed, but the person looking at it is changing by the second, building something incredible out of light and shadow and silence. And the fact that you get to be in the room while it happens, even if you cannot fully see what they see, is one of the quietest and most overlooked miracles of being alive.